Alright, everybody. Well, we're going to get started now. I was waiting for 3 more of my friends, but I don't see them here. And it kind of worries me because they live really close. In fact, they live right here in Schmeeckle. Would you guys like to go help me find them or find clues on where they could have gone?
Yes.
Yes? Alright. So just so you're not tromping through the woods with a stranger, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Tyler Zink. I've been at UWSP for 4 years, and I've also been an explorer here at Schmeeckle for the same amount of time. I've spent 7 semesters working for the Herpetology Society, which is a society that takes care of reptiles and amphibians. So I've learned a lot about our herpetological friends in that amount of time. So actually the friends that we're going to be looking for, as you can tell by the name of my program, are going to be cold-blooded. First thing I learned about them when talking to them, of course, since they're my friends, is that they don't actually prefer the term cold-blooded. And this is because their blood's actually not that much colder than ours in normal circumstances. So what they prefer is ectothermic, which means they get their heat from an outside source. So, you know a little more about me. We're going to take a walk down to, our first place is going to be the reflection pond, and see if we can find my first friend, Sydney. Alright, so if you all want to get ready, and we'll take off. It's a reflection pond, Alex. Who do you think would live in here? Maybe an amphibian?
What did you tell Mama?
Crocodile? Any other guesses? Yeah, what's your guess? A frog. The reflection pond has a bunch of different kinds of frogs. So sorry if I I've been told I called her Sydney at the beginning. That's not her name, it's Sylvia. Sorry, I'm going to correct myself there. And I don't see or hear her right now, so I'm actually going to give her a call. Okay, it's ringing. Hi, how you doing? So where are you and your family right now? Someone hear this? Alright. Well, it was good to hear from you, but I think that's all she got to say for now. Can anyone guess more specifically what kind of frog Sylvia might be?
I know.
What kind of frog is Sylvia? Red? It is sometimes red. Anyone else? Sylvia's full name is Lithobates sylvatica, which is the wood frog. Is that what you were going to say, Alex? Yeah, I just got it before him. So what she was talking about was, so this weather is kind of on and off for them. They love the wet. The wet is just great for them. The cold, they're not so fond of. They really just hunker down and kind of bundle up and try to avoid pretty much everything in the winter. So as we can all see, we're all bundled up on the outside. Sylvia and her family are busy bundling up on the inside. What they do is when it starts getting colder, they're releasing something into their blood that prevents freeze from happening so fast. And she sent me this nice little diagram. Oh, this is a great picture of her. I think it's her profile picture. That. And she sent me a nice little diagram on what it feels like. So, up here, we have a cell. A very happy cell. It's happy because it's not frozen. Come down here, that's what happens when regular cells get ice crystals. The crystallization becomes sharp, bursts the cell. And that's how we can hurt ourselves by freezing. So what Sylvia does, she releases a chemical into her blood where it doesn't get these sharp edges and it doesn't freeze as fast. Their entire bodies will end up freezing over as they just sit in the mud and they could turn to complete solid ice. But as soon as they thaw, none of their cells are damaged. They're all back to being happy cells. You can tell by the smiley face. So, I think that's pretty cool to see you have a way to bundle up on the inside since they don't have access to coats and stuff. So So what we're gonna do, we've looked for Sylvia. She says she's not coming out today. It's just she's not feeling it today. But if we walk back along this boardwalk and maybe after the turn, we might be able to see some of Sylvia's family. Now, normally you wouldn't want to pick up frozen frogs, but Sylvia said it's okay. So if you see any frogs, or if the little ones want to find frogs, they are scattered, and I bet they'll be scattered over there. So let's start moving in that direction to our new location. I will actually jump out in front of you guys.
Oh gosh, you really loaded them with this.
Yeah, I could pick it with, if I could go to the back side of my gloves. Here they come. All right, let's get talking here.
All right, if you can all hear me right now, we're gonna start looking for my second friend. His name is Chris. And my last friend Sylvia, she was an amphibian. This one lives in Lake Jonas, so he's also aquatic. He also likes living in water, but he's a reptile. So if you guys want to think about what reptile would live in Lake Jonas, and we'll go over and look for him. All right, so I can usually find Chris just hanging out on the edges here, basking in the sun, just with a bunch of other friends and relatives. But I don't know, can you guys see any turtles out there? Oh, whoops. Yeah. Chris is a turtle, by the way. I'm going to get that away. He's sunning himself out here with a lot of other friends, but do you think he'd be sunning himself today? No, there's no sun. There's a bunch of wind. While we were walking here, I got a text from a random number. I think it's from him, but I need to find it. Hello, I hope you are well in this cold weather. I'm sorry, but I can't meet up with you today because I'm afraid that Lake Jonas is going to freeze over without me. Huh. Well, that one's really interesting. Want to be stuck under the ice? It kind of sounds like it. Okay, see, when my species gets cold, we hide under the water, and when the lake freezes, we stay under the ice. Very interesting. We stop using our lungs to breathe, and instead breathe through cutaneous patches on our skin. What cutaneous means is something that our friend Sylvia would have, where she doesn't have to use her lungs, she can breathe through spots on her skin when they're nice and wet. So that is a very interesting thing about a lot of amphibians and reptiles like Chris here has it. Take in unfrozen air. There's nothing to keep them going. There's nothing to keep them kind of floating. They just sink to the bottom and they just curl up and stop moving. So they'll sink into the mud and mud will pile over them and they'll end up getting buried in it. And when it's warm enough, they'll come back out and they're always just really dirty. So they'll have to wash themselves off on their swim back up and make sure they can get all that weight off them. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, signatures. Happy holidays. Chrysemis picta. That's Chris's full name. Does anyone know what that means? It means Chris is a painted turtle. Alright. So he actually sent me a cool photograph too. I think this is just his profile. If you don't know, this is what painted turtle looks like. Alright. And he also sent me another pretty interesting photo. So this is actually a picture of great-great-grandpa. And as we know about things that old, they're usually not alive anymore. So, we see something very interesting in this picture. That is? Yeah, bones, ribs, all connected to the shell. You see the shell of a turtle is actually fused with the spine. So, what that means is there's a lot more interaction between the turtle's body and the turtle's shell than we would have first thought. What they can do is when they store food and sink down to the bottom like that, what they can do is break down the sugars in the their body with a kind of strong acid, and it'll help them stay alive and metabolize and digest some food for energy over the winter. The problem is these strong acids can build up and poison them. But what an amazing thing they can do is through these connections here, they put that dangerous chemical up into their shell, just in a place to store it so it stays out of their body, keeps them healthy. I thought that was a pretty cool discussion me and Chris had one day, but it was a weird picture of his grandpa, so again, there's a couple things. Now what we are going to do now is actually go back the way we came. One of my friends was actually kind of towards the beginning of our hike, but she doesn't usually come out until later. It's usually around sunset, but there's not much sun to be setting right now. So my friend's name is Serta, so we're going to go back and look for her. Alright, so we are looking for my last friend here, Serta. I'm checking here because she was here kind of later in the year, last year, but she had said she procrastinated and this was the only place she could find that would escape all the freezing. So what she can do is find a rock pile like this, and if it goes deep enough, just wiggle herself between and get all the way below the frost line to escape the winter. Does anyone know what kind of reptile my friend Serta is? Snake! Snake! Alright. So, she chose some place like this before because she actually didn't get moving fast enough last year. I'm pretty sure she got a good head start this year. So what they're going to do is move up. They don't really migrate, but they'll move a little bit and sometimes right over the border into Canada, which would be a long distance from here. And they'll find these places and they'll all bundle together. So I got a letter from Serta that I'm going to read. Sorry I missed our meeting today. My family and I had to stop and fill our tummies before our big family gathering. I know you humans like to eat when you all get together, but for us, we need to eat all we can before we meet up with the rest of our family. Because where we're going, it gets really cold when we're all together. And the food in our tummies can actually freeze and hurt us. And we talked about happy cells and frozen cells. No one likes frozen cells even in their belly. So instead of getting all together and eating with their family, they all get their own individual meals and they all try to meet up in one place. So, yes, it can hurt us. So we digest our food on the way to our hibernaculum. Has anyone heard that word before? No. Okay. Alex hasn't. So I'm going to explain that one. Hibernaculum is a place where you go to hibernate, as it might sound like. And they begin our brumation. What about that one? Anyone? Okay, well that's kind of a trick anyways, because it's just a form of hibernation that is not quite as deep of a sleep, so they don't need to use all that energy to wake back up again. When we all get together, they go into brumation and they all relax for the winter. Ooh, so here's a picture of our last family gathering when we all got together in a very big area. Or a very small area, but in really big groups. So, they can look like this when they emerge in the spring. Some people think it's an amazing and beautiful sight. Some people think it is extremely terrifying. You get mixed reactions from this, but there is a place in Canada that is known for housing these types of snakes, and I'm sorry I didn't get to her name, but Serta is actually Thamnophis sertalis. Anyone have a guess on that one? It's our common garter snake. So the black ones with the yellow stripes, not too dangerous, not too bitey. You know, just our regular snakes. Can come out in massive piles like this, and they really, for the nature books, this really is an amazing sight and just an incredible thing to witness. It's something I hope I see live sometime and not just in a nature show. Serta tells me that this is a really cool event when they all get out together. So, if we want to head back to our amphitheater, we're going to think about how them preparing for winter is similar to us preparing for winter. So if we all want to head back now. All right, if anyone thought of any good similarities they would really like to share with the group. Any?
Insulation.
Insulation, kind of. Yes, that's okay. Yeah, so it's a good idea. For our amphibians, like Sylvia, that's his name, we have our insulation on the outside. We're getting all bundled up in coats, getting all bundled up on the inside. Stops freezing, prevent the cold. I have another fun fact about Serta here, if no one else wants to, has another similarity. So, in their family gatherings are a little different than our family gatherings. Usually we just gather with our own family. Sertas, they have a bunch of different families from all over come together, and they all can have fun together, and they'll all just get in and sleep. And in this time, in the spring when they're all coming back, it's a great time for them to meet new couples. Since there's other families together, you know, you're not around the same people all the time. They can meet some new, fun people from different areas. They all get together, and this is where they usually will choose a partner. Yeah, so far I'm going to go into that one. Because it gets a little aggressive after that. But it's very sweet on the surface. It's a nice time to meet. And it's a good time to get to know other people that are different than you. Alright, any other similarities we can think of? Yeah.
Just like turtles like to hibernate, I also get very sleepy in the winter and don't want to leave my bed.
Yeah. Yeah, depending which level of our house is the warmest, sometimes we can keep our basement nice and toasty. Sometimes go underneath and just burrow down, hunker down for the winter, and really, that's all we have planned for the next few months. We'll let the snow outside, and we can just be safe. We don't really think of the bottom of a pond, bottom of a frozen pond, as the warmest place, but it has its advantages for turtles. Anyone else? Okay. So, the difference in, I think Serta's letter was a little cool because we all get together, I mean, we'll see how this year looks, but usually we all get together for our winter holidays, whatever they might be. And we'll have a big meal together, and we'll get a bunch of people together, and we all just eat as much as we can, and then we rest. Serta has to eat before she travels, and then when she gets there, she doesn't even get a nice big home-cooked meal. So that's a little upsetting, but it's something she's used to. It's just part of who she is. Are there any other questions or any other comments that people would like to make? Alright, it's not fun sitting on these stones. They can become like ice blocks. So I'm going to call it here. I really hope you had fun, and I hope you learned a lot, and we have time for one more question.
What is the advantage to the garter snakes to accumulate in this big ball? Is it heat or is it protection? Why do they all gather?
It's kind of a lot of different factors. You got the two main ones though. It's for warmth. It's a place to gather because they know that there's a rock with cracks enough that gets below the freeze line, which is a very important thing. There's a depth that they can just get to and then just completely avoid that horrible ice buildup. So it's places they know, and it's also part of the mating process in the spring. If you're in that area, you have more chance to mate with someone who is, has very different genes than you, can be from very far away, and that is a big advantage. We actually have time for one more question if anyone's got one.
I actually do too.
Yes.
So like the turtle thing, like what if you end up having a very cold winter and it freezes through, do they just die?
So if a pond freezes all the way through, yeah, everything is going to die. In fact, it's very interesting to learn about. The only reason any life exists at all on this earth is the fact that ice floats. If ice sank and the bottom of ponds and rivers froze, nothing could really exist. At least not in its present form. So that is a good question, and that's actually really interesting to think about, that the bottom of ponds, because they circulate, because of the water temperature, will remain unfrozen and will let all these really cool organisms use that space as protection for the winter. And now I will let you get off your ice blocks. I hope you had fun, and I really hope you learned something. Thank you for coming to my program today.